Hi everyone, I'm Maria McLachlan. I have a couple of longer videos in the making, but today I got distracted by 37 seconds worth of Jammidodger being as irredeemably awful as she always is. This won't take long.
We just want to protect women in women's spaces.
No, you don't. You don't give a damn about women, in spite of being one yourself. Oh, I see. You're quoting those of us who do want to protect ourselves in our spaces.
This is a valid and important thing.
Really? Why? How uncharacteristically decent, magnanimous, and empathic of you to say so. Where's the catch?
But when framed in the context of discussing trans people, is transphobic.
Ha, there it is. Women's safety is only valid and important as long as the common sense measures to preserve it don't offend the sensibilities of the gender cultists. Everything that doesn't prioritise the feelings of trans-identifying people over everyone else is transphobic.
Specifically when discussing trans women. The intention of this sentence in a trans context is to exclude trans women from women's spaces.
Because they're men and don't belong in women's spaces. This is the most common sense measure to protect women. Keep certain spaces single sex.
Therefore jeopardising the safety of trans women.
Oh my God, women are such evil, selfish witches, putting our own feelings and comfort and safety above those of men, aren't we? How are we jeopardising their safety?
But trans women do not pose any kind of threat or danger to cis women within women's spaces.
That is the most disgusting and unconscionable falsehood that I see being perpetrated by supporters of this deeply misogynistic movement. When I launched my website 4 years ago, I didn't realise how big and serious the problem of trans-identifying men sexually abusing women and especially children was. I felt slightly anxious about including a page about crimes on my website, and I acknowledged in the very first line that some were only pretending to identify as trans women, by which I meant they didn't wear woman face all the time. A recent example is Darren Merriger, who was able to strut naked with what I believe is called a semi, through the women's area of We Spa in Los Angeles, and the staff did nothing about it because they assumed he was trans. Samantha Lux, in a video I responded to, but which he has since quietly removed, said,
"What probably happened is a trans woman was using the women's facilities and happened to have a penis."
And he did, of course, turn out to be a serial sex offender who'd been on the sex offenders register since 2006 and who has since been charged with indecent exposure because of what he did at We Spa. I also said that male-born transgender people, I'm going to have to revise this passage because the language I used back then was far too conciliatory. I said that trans-identifying men were no more likely to commit crimes than other men, and that nobody is trying to suggest that all transgender people are criminals. I don't know why this accusation ever gets made by anyone, I said, revealing my extreme naivety at the time. It seems patently obvious to me now that the reason it gets said is to divert attention from the fact that a minority of trans-identifying men are just the same as a minority of men who don't claim to be transgender, and they do really horrible things. And these give the lie to the notion that trans-identifying men are in some fundamental way different from any other man and that none of them are predatory. Jamie does not engage with this indisputable fact at all. On a personal level, she doesn't have to. She can carry on behaving like some guru and making to her over 900,000 cult subscribers, assertions that she makes no attempt to support. The abuse of women and children by members of her tribe is no skin off her nose.
And are just being used as a scapegoat by transphobes.
A scapegoat for what exactly? A scapegoat is when you let someone take the blame for what other people have done.
If you really want to protect women and women's safety, then tackle the real issue, and that issue is definitely not trans women.
Oh, what's the real issue? I thought the issue was predatory men, voyeuristic men, violent men, men who want to sexually molest women and children, and to do any and all of those things regardless of what they identify as. What is the real issue if it's not that? We're not told.
And trans women deserve to be recognised and protected as women too.
Because, again, we're not told. I don't think Jamie knows how to argue a case. Her answer to every objection amounts to nothing more than because I say so and you're a transphobe if you disagree. Not a good look, Jamie. That's all.